15th of December 2011. My name is Totalbiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of community interaction, gaming discussion, and all that good stuff. You can email in mailbox at cynicalbrit.com. That is mailbox at cynicalbrit.com with topics for future shows. The game in the background is Battlefield 3, a game I have not played in several months, in fact. Has it been several months? But I suppose probably about 2, isn't it? I can't remember when it came out. Was it late October? Whatever the case, I didn't really play it much past the first couple of weeks because I didn't really enjoy many of the maps. However, the expansion has come out, which features 4 older maps from Battlefield 2, which turns out they're pretty damn good, including on Rush and Conquest mode, so I'm back into it with a vengeance and rusty as hell, but doesn't matter, I can get a tank and cause some havoc. First email comes in from Ethan that says this: Hey TB, it's day 2 into the early release of Star Wars The Old Republic. I think it's actually day 3 by now, and I and many, many more still don't have access emails. This isn't me whinging that I don't have a code yet, as I'm prepared to wait a little longer. But what I don't understand is, if it's early access, then why aren't we all who pre-ordered this for a reason not actually in yet? I see the sense in staggering the access for server capacity, but I feel a little cheated. I mean, unless there was something I did not see before pre-ordering, but I had the intention of pre-ordering to get into early access. That is the sole purpose of my pre-order, or else I would have bought it in town on the way home on release date. My question to you is, how do you feel about the way BioWare are handling this early access stuff? Do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea, and how well are they executing it? Well, the thing is that this stuff was announced before the release. In fact, it was announced on pretty much day 1 of pre-orders that you would get in pretty much in the order that you pre-ordered. Yeah? It was made abundantly clear when they put out the early access thing that not everyone would get in on the first day, and if it wasn't explicitly said, it was certainly implied heavily, and that's what I read when I saw the pre-orders and things like that. The idea is very solid, because honestly, that game's been pre-ordered over 2 million times. You're going to throw 2 million players at the game in one day. That sounds dumb. Let's not do that, because I can imagine that being an absolute disaster. I remember WoW Day 1. WoW Day 1 was awful. WoW Day 1, the account servers went down about 5 minutes after launch, and for most of the day, nobody could actually register their account to get online. It was completely balked. There were massive queues. There were huge lag problems all over the place for days. Not so good. The Old Republic, I got in on day 1, and it was really pleasant. It is now not pleasant. They screwed things up somewhat, because they said they were going to put in some new servers, but they didn't do it in time. They did not do it in time at all. What they ended up doing was they released the big wave before putting the servers online, which meant queues across the board for a wide variety of servers. So that is a massive problem there. I logged on suddenly to find there was a 30-minute queue on my server, and we thought we'd picked the server that no one would go on because it had a weird name and it was PvE and perhaps not as popular as PvP. And as it turns out, no, that kind of screwed up. So, yeah, that was a bit disastrous and a screw-up as far as I'm concerned in what I've seen to be, so far, a really smooth MMO launch. Like, there was only one major problem that I'd heard of when it came to the launch of this game, and that's that there was a PvP exploit in that you could just go into matches and matches wouldn't happen because there weren't enough players in them, but people would still get full experience anyway. So you ended up having the people that power leveled initially get a huge experience boost. However, that apparently, anyway, so I've been told by the guys on the BioWare forums, is being resolved, and anyone that deliberately exploited that will get a temp ban to allow other people to catch up again. I don't really see why you'd rush so much with so much story content in there, but I guess some people don't care about story. I didn't used to care about story, but that was because of the way that it was delivered, not because I hate story. I actually rather like it. So I don't really feel that people have been cheated by that. I think that it's a very sensible thing to do in order to stagger things. They just haven't quite pulled it off the way that I would have hoped. For the most part, up until today, it was good. And then today is where things went really wrong. What they should have done was limit the number of signups on certain servers and made sure that people were going to others. And they should have deployed the next wave of servers before the wave came in. They could have very easily shut those servers down if need be, or consolidated them very early on. Not a problem. That would have been the time to do it. But because they didn't put those servers up, the starting servers are now flooded. So those are probably going to be heavy pop for ages. I am half tempted just to re-roll my character on another one of the newer servers as they come out, because I haven't got hugely far yet. But it is affecting my filming, no doubt about that. It's affecting my playing as well. If I log in there's a lot of people in the starting zone. There's a lot of people to deal with, and of course mobs are being taken very rapidly. Thankfully, a lot of stuff is in mini instances, so that isn't really so much of a problem, especially in the heroic areas that are littered with them. But still, it is a pain in the ass, and it makes things more difficult than they need to be as far as I am concerned. As regards to giving pre-orders early access, though, it does kind of make sense, I suppose. I didn't like the fact that they were charging extra for the pre-orders. That is definitely something very, very bad indeed. I pointed that out when they first brought out the pre-orders. I quite frankly thought it was outrageous, and it still is. It wasn't just a refundable $5 fee. It was just pay an extra $5 to get early access. Now, you might argue that that was gating and stopping people from pre-ordering just out of nowhere and then having people flood the servers, but honestly, let's just call it what it is. It's a bit of money grubbing right there from them, so I wasn't too impressed by that whatsoever. Not so good. It would not surprise me, however, to see other MMOs do this in the future, because it's a great way to stagger the number of people that are coming onto the servers and gradually grow the game before the release and before the big push, and hopefully have nailed down any game-killing bugs before that goes out to the general public. Seems like a solid idea, and it will most likely happen on future titles. This one comes in from Gabby that says, I'm a little confused with all the stigma around being a free-to-play member of a game, and I'm mostly referring to reactions to Team Fortress 2 becoming free. There are countless reaction videos based around how the game isn't worth playing just because it's become free-to-play, and there will end up being a lot of newbies around. I know that a lot of these are just supposed to be jokes, but it seems like it's gone a little bit too far. I've even seen players being hostile to newbies on countless occasions since the game was made free. Everyone was new to the game once, so why are free-to-play players being mocked? Surely being free-to-play means more players, more servers, and less waiting time. What are your thoughts on this? Well, no, less waiting time is irrelevant. Team Fortress 2 was big enough anyway. The thing about Team Fortress 2 is that we're not talking about matchmaking here. You don't have to matchmake. In fact, a lot of people just play Team Fortress 2 on the server that they like to be on. They have a community server that they join on a frequent basis, and they don't just join random servers. This isn't League of Legends. There are servers that people like to frequent because it's their community. And they see the same people on there day in, day out. They've got the map set up how they want it. They've got the mods that they want on that server. It's their little place. However, the hostility towards free-to-play players doesn't make any sense in that regard because those servers can very easily be made private. And honestly, a community server shouldn't be affected by that. This is the weird thing. If you're playing TF2 properly, if you're playing it in the style of a PC gamer, in the classic FPS style of having a server that your friends go on and having built around some kind of community, then you're going to have no issue with free-to-play players because you can lock them out of your server. In fact, it is entirely possible to stop them. There was a server mod created to stop free-to-play players getting onto it, and a password will, of course, stop anyone you don't want getting on it anyway. So I don't really understand why those people would be bothered. And I have a feeling that those people aren't the ones who are being bothered. The ones who are actually being bothered are kind of the elitist guys that really don't understand what PC shooters are all about. And that's having your own server and getting on that server and seeing the same people every day and making it a community activity. That makes it so much more fun. It's mad skills, stats, hats. I suppose that's what it is. It's stats and hats for those people. For me, it's the people I play with. And if I'm seeing the same people day in, day out, then cool. That's good. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, that is encouraging me to continue to go back there. I want to hang around with those people. I know that it's going to be a good time. Randoms, not so much. Tend to try and avoid that as much as possible. It's weird that people get so paranoid about free-to-play players in a game as simple as TF2. And I'm going to enrage a lot of TF2 guys by saying this, but I'm sorry, a lot of play in TF2 is very, very simplistic. You guys are not playing at an uber competitive level. There are some people that are. Those people probably don't care about the free-to-players because they're playing in competitive tournaments. You guys, you're just as casual as the rest of them. As simple as that. You play on an average level. And if I have seen anything when it comes to average gamers, you're freaking terrible. You are. The chances are you are bad. And there are a lot of very easy-to-use classes in TF2. I mean, for God's sake, are you going to tell me it's hard to be a medic? You're going to tell me it's hard to be a pyro? There's the two classes that are based around holding down the button and then pressing another button at the appropriate time. That's all it is. Is it hard to be an engineer? No. Most of these classes are very simplistic. That's actually the biggest problem I had with TF2 when it came out, is there was nothing to it. There was nothing to it. Until all the weapon variants came in, I was bored stiff with the game, if I'm honest. I like it more now. I've actually got a taste of the competitive style as well. I played in some show matches, as you're probably well aware. That was fun. That was really good stuff, and obviously at a very high level, TF2 is an excellent competitive title. But as a pub game, it's a bit random. Honestly, there's not a lot of teamwork going on, regardless of how elite you happen to be at the game, because at the end of the day, if you're not playing on a community server and you're not playing with a team that you know, people are just going to be running around doing whatever. Yeah? And the chances are that you're not going to have a huge impact on the outcome of the game one way or the other, unless, of course, you happen to be the heavy or the medic in the heavy medic combo that pushes through and wins everything for everybody. Or indeed the scout that ninja caps. Everyone else? You're expendable. You can be replaced by anyone else. I mean, you might trade 1-for-1 kills. Who cares? You know, you're a nameless face in the crowd. A free-to-play player can easily be a nameless face in the crowd. However, this first came around, and I answered this on the mailbox a long time ago, and I'm going to say this again because I still believe it. Server owners have the right to prevent free-to-play players being on their server if they so desire. And you do not have to justify yourself at all. This is why I said when this mod first came around, people were saying, oh, it's elitist, it's unfair. No. This guy owns the server. He can do whatever he damn well pleases. It is a private domain. He is entirely entitled to that. It's the same reason that I said it's okay to have guilds that exclude certain people. It's okay to have a guild with no girls. It's okay to have a guild with all white people. And you might be thinking, oh my god, he's so racist. No. If this guild wants to be a guild that has nothing but white people, then let them do it. It's their private domain. They are entitled to do so. They do not have to bring in anyone they don't want to do. If they want to discriminate on the basis of whatever the hell they please, that is fine. It's not like there aren't other options. This is not a job you're applying for right here. This is a private server that somebody pays for. They can have whoever they damn well please on it, and they don't have to justify themselves to anybody for any reason. That, as far as I'm concerned, is the reality of the situation. That's how it should be when it comes to game servers and private groups. You can exclude anyone you wish. I don't agree with your reasons for it, but I will defend to the death your right to hold them. It's as simple as that. This one comes in from the one who sits that says, I have friends who I once thought had the morals to buy a game and not pirate it. However, with the Humble Bundle 4, they decided to download it off a torrent site. Their excuse was, it doesn't cost the bundle people any money. This infuriated me. I told them that what they were doing is a crime and they had no moral or legal right to get the games. They then decided to kick me from the call. I presume this was them not wanting to be reminded that what they're doing is a crime. What I ask you is this: why do you think people believe that it's okay to get something that others had to pay for, and could it have something to do with how cheap the bundle's average price is? P.S. Why is the Linux average price highest? Two things. One, the Linux demographic is older than the average PC demographic, ergo they have more disposable income, so that's one factor. And then the second factor is that Linux guys are generally more respectful of such things and understand that piracy doesn't really help, especially with Linux. I mean, you gotta pirate Linux games? There's barely any Linux games to pirate to begin with. That would be a bad idea. You've got a very nascent scene there. You don't want to start off by damaging it. Just want to point out, by the way, that you're wrong in saying that piracy is a crime. It is not. It is a civil offense. It is copyright infringement in most countries. There are some countries where it is a criminal act, but certainly in this one it is not. The fact of the matter is that, yeah, your friends are probably pretty pissed off because you called them criminals. You're right, don't get me wrong, in saying that they shouldn't be pirating it. It's pretty scummy to pirate the Humble Indie Bundle. It's not as bad as paying a cent for it, because then you are actually costing the Humble Indie Bundle money in terms of PayPal fees and bandwidth. So yeah, that is better. If you're not going to pay for it, it's better to pirate it. But, I mean, what the hell? What is the point? Who can't afford that? The problem usually comes in that it's not people that can't afford it, it's people that can't pay for it because they don't have the means to do so. They don't have access to a credit card or PayPal or anything like that. And in that respect, you can kind of understand the piracy there. But do they really need those 6 indie games, I have to wonder? Do they honestly need it? Does it have an impact? It's only going to have an impact if they are capable of paying for it and yet choose not to. Those are the people that I have a problem with. And yeah, I don't believe that people are entitled to games. I don't think so at all. If they don't have any money, they should be playing one of the myriad of free-to-play games or trials or demos that are available for them. There's a wide variety of gaming experiences which do not involve you paying anything. It's as simple as that, and they should go and invest in those. If they want the latest and greatest but don't want to pay for them, then yes, they are scum. It's as simple as that. It always makes me scratch my head that we see people with high-spec gaming rigs end up pirating all the games. Like, well, I've got a $2,000 gaming rig, but I can't afford this $40 to $60 game. And in this case, the indie games, I can't afford this indie bundle, which, if I were to beat the average, would require me to only spend $5 smegging. My God. You know, it's the price of a foot-long Subway sandwich in the States. You can't even get a foot-long in this country for that much. I mean, Christ, you have to pay more than that. Average purchase price is $5.31. Average Windows purchase is $4.76. which I might add is actually depressingly low. And this is one of the best indie bundles I've seen. You've got 2 great charities to support. One I think is more important than the other, but we're not going to get into that. You get, if you beat the average, you pay $5.31. Admittedly, that also involves beating the average of the entire series and not just the Windows purchase. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Now, out of those games, I could say that Shank alone is worth that buying cost. Jamestown is really great. I've heard good things about Bit Trip. Super Meat Boy is the most frustrating piece of crap I've ever played, but my god, it is a good game. Cave Story Plus is amazing. Gratuitous Space Battles is pretty good if you like that kind of thing. And the only game I really don't know anything about is Night Sky, but it has been reviewed fairly well. It is probably the best Humble Indie bundle I have seen ever, and you would be crazy not to support it. But at least they're not paying a cent for it. At least they're not being scumbags like that. At least they're not costing Humble Indie bundle money, and they do have a legitimate point in that regard. The problem is that, here's the thing, people pirate because they can. People pirate because they can. That's the only thing that matters. They can do it, it's easy, so they do it. Simple as that. You can't stop it. You cannot stop it. And the problem is that an overreaction to piracy results in what we're seeing at the moment, the Stop Online Piracy Act, which could potentially shut down things like YouTube and all sorts of nonsense. You definitely don't want that act going through. That I can tell you for a fact. That's what happens. And if anything, that's perhaps the biggest problem I've got with piracy, that it's resulting in legislators going frickin' nuts, backed by lobbyists lining their pockets that could result in crippling the internet as we know it. Yeah, that's definitely worth doing to get a couple of free games, isn't it, guys? Please, have a little bit of responsibility, for God's sake. If you can't afford it, do what normal people do and just don't buy it. There are plenty of other opportunities, there are plenty of other experiences that you can have, and who knows, you might find something you really enjoy. Give it a shot. Have a look around. You'll see that there's plenty available with very little monetary down payment required, if any. All right, folks, that's me done for the day. Thank you very much for watching the Mailbox. This is Thursday, so there is one more Mailbox to go on Friday. And then, of course, the weekend is coming. Yes, as is Santa Baby. That is coming along. Do not concern yourself. It will happen. But remember to go and pick up the Humble Bundle, folks. And do try and beat the average. There is an incentive in there for it. It's a great, fantastic bundle. Humblebundle.com. Lots of great games in there. And how many did I WTFS? Yeah, I've WTFS Shank, Super Meat Boy, and Jamestown. So you should probably go and have a look at those. Those are really awesome games. All right, folks. I'll see you next time.
There's your first aid kit. Pick it up.